Hey, what is up everybody, it's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and by the end of this video, you will know everything you need to know about all the different breathing styles in Demon Slayer, including the strongest breathing styles, demonic variations of breathing styles, and how each style emerged, who uses it, and what its unique powers are. If you want to show off to all your friends that you know more about Demon Slayer than them, you've come to exactly the right place, so drop a quick like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Breathing styles are unique swordsmanship techniques used by members of the Demon Slayer Corps. These styles are inspired by a specific element or substance, such as a flame or water or stone. And these styles are used in combination with a Nichiren blade in order to kill demons. Demon Slayers usually use swords equipped with Nichiren blades, but some use other types of weapons like an axe or a cleaver. But regardless of the type of weapon, they have to be made with Nichiren blades. If demons are cut with a regular blade, they will not die. I actually made a video about all the breathing styles in Demon Slayer almost 4 years ago, but that was before we had all the updated information. And in fact, we didn't even have the official translations for many of the forms. Now is the perfect time to make a full, updated video that contains all the latest, up-to-date information. As I mentioned in that previous video, each breathing style focuses around specific breathing patterns, which enables the users to strengthen their bodies by increasing their lung capacity and the flow of oxygen in their blood. This allows the users to perform incredible feats, including superhuman movements and techniques, making it possible for the Demon Slayers to take on the demons, even though demons are generally much stronger and much more resilient than regular humans. Now, the concept of breathing styles in Demon Slayer did not come out of nowhere. Breathing techniques are a crucial aspect of real-life martial arts, and the further you advance in martial arts, the more focus is placed on proper breathing, as well as on things like presence and spirit, which are also things that are covered in Demon Slayer. But does this mean that by training martial arts with a sword, you will eventually become as strong as Yoriichi in real life? Probably not, but I do like the fact that the battle system in Demon Slayer takes a lot of inspiration from real-life martial arts like Iaido and Kendo. Speaking of Yoriichi, the first breathing style appeared nearly 500 years ago, and the name of this breathing style is sun breathing. But before we get into all the juicy info, I have to warn you that this video will contain manga spoilers in terms of the breathing styles. I'm covering everything we know about all of them, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Sun breathing was created by Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the strongest Demon Slayer in history, and it seems to be something that just came to him naturally. That's because Yoriichi was born with unbelievable powers and incredible levels of natural talent. He was an absolute prodigy, someone born with the kind of talented potential that the rest of us can only dream of. He was born with his Demon Slayer mark already manifested, he was also born with the ability to see into the transparent world, and his physical strength, speed, and endurance was on a whole other level from normal people. Yoriichi believed that he was born into this world with all those special abilities because his destiny was to defeat the progenitor of all the demons, Muzan. It was like the universe itself was trying to balance itself out by creating a creature who could stop the overpowered Muzan. After his own wife and unborn child were killed by a demon while he was away from home, Yoriichi joined the Demon Slayer Corps. This is when he developed what came to be known as sun breathing, and he tried to teach this breathing style to other Demon Slayers, including to his own twin brother, Michikatsu. But the other Demon Slayers simply weren't as strong and as talented as Yoriichi, so they were never able to master sun breathing. As a result, Yoriichi changed the way he taught them in order to adapt his breathing style to their own individual skills and abilities. And this is how the derivative styles appeared, including water breathing, flame breathing, wind breathing, stone breathing, and so on. They all emerged out of sun breathing, but they are imperfect interpretations of sun breathing by individual Demon Slayers who just couldn't match the superhuman strength and skill of Yoriichi. As the original style perfected by Yoriichi himself, sun breathing was the strongest of all the styles, but because no one but Yoriichi could master it, it essentially died out after his death. However, the fundamentals of sun breathing were preserved in the form of a ritual dance performed by the head of the Kamado family, a dance known as Hinokami Kagura. About 450 years ago, Yoriichi saved the life of Tanjiro's ancestor Sumiyoshi and his wife. Yoriichi and Sumiyoshi became friends, and eventually Yoriichi demonstrated all the forms of sun breathing to Sumiyoshi. Tanjiro's ancestor then learned all the forms and passed them on to his son in the form of the Hinokami Kagura ritual dance. This was repeated from generation to generation until it eventually reached Tanjiro himself. At first, sun breathing has 12 known forms. These include dance, which is a single high-powered slash that comes down in an arc, clear blue sky, a circular spinning slash that sees the user rotate their upper body to cut at a full 360 degrees, raging sun, an attack composed of a vertical slash followed by a horizontal slash, burning bones summer sun, a single spiraling slash that has both offensive and defensive properties, setting sun transformation, in which the user performs a backflip and then unleashes a single horizontal slash with the intention of taking off his opponent's head. Solar Heat Haze, in which the user rushes forward while hidden in a heat haze. This haze hides the true size and position of the user's sword, allowing them to deliver a surprise attack. Then there's Beneficent Radiance, where the user spirals upwards into the air and performs a swirling upwards slash. Sunflower Thrust, a single thrust that uses the tip of the sword to attack the target. Dragon Sun Halo Dance, which involves the user delivering a bunch of consecutive slashes in continuous motion, allowing him to strike and decapitate multiple targets at once. Fire Wheel involves the user spinning through the air in order to get behind the opponent and then deliver a vertical slash in a circular motion. Fake Rainbow is a defensive technique that allows the user to dodge quickly using rapid twists and rotations. This technique will actually leave after images and confuse opponents. The last of the 12 initial forms is called Flame Dance, which is a combination of two strikes that starts off with a vertical slash and then immediately leads into a second horizontal slash. Now initially, whenever Tanjiro was using Hinokami Kagura, he was simply repeating the forms as they were taught to him by his father. But after being knocked out during an important battle, Tanjiro is able to see the memories of his ancestor Sumiyoshi directly, and he realizes that some of the intricacies of the 12 forms of sun breathing were lost to time. In other words, the Hinokami Kagura that he learned from his father was not the perfected version of sun breathing. Tanjiro fully masters all 12 forms after seeing Sumiyoshi's memories of Yoriichi actually performing all the sun breathing forms himself. Tanjiro then perfects the forms by adjusting the position of his body, as well as his movements and breathing. This makes Tanjiro a lot stronger and more effective in battle, and it also allows him to discover the secret 13th form of sun breathing. The 13th form was devised by Yoriichi for the specific purpose of defeating Muzan. By rapidly and continuously performing all 12 forms of sun breathing, the user is able to destroy all 12 of Muzan's vital organs, his 7 hearts and 5 brains, which are dispersed throughout his demonic body. Tanjiro's ability to perfect sun breathing and unlock the secret 13th form is key to defeating Muzan. Now let's talk about water breathing, the first breathing style that we are formally introduced to in the story, because it is the first breathing style that Tanjiro learns when he decides to become a demon slayer. Water breathing is one of the original derivatives of sun breathing, and it is said that there has always been a water Hashira and a flame Hashira in every generation from the days of Yoriichi to the present day. Water breathing is a swordsmanship style that is inspired by the movements of water, and a special emphasis is placed on creating fluid motions, on being flexible, and on adapting to any and all situations. Just like water instantly adjusts its flow no matter what obstacle appears in its way. Water breathing appears to be the most common breathing style, as it seems to be one of the easiest styles to teach newcomers. Known users of water breathing include the current water Hashira Giyu Tomioka, the former water Hashira Sakonji Urokodaki, Tanjiro Kamado, Aoi Kanzaki, Murata, Sabito, and Makomo. Water breathing has 10 regular forms, and then there's an 11th form that Giyu himself created and that only Giyu is able to perform. The forms include first form Water Surface Slash, which is a single concentrated slash. The second form is Water Wheel, which involves the user jumping in the air and spinning in midair in a circular path in order to create an attack that resembles a water wheel. The third form is Flowing Dance, which involves the user swinging their sword while mimicking the movements of flowing water. The fourth form is Striking Tide, which involves the user performing multiple consecutive slashes while twisting his or her body in a way that resembles a powerful water tide. The fifth form is Blessed Rain After the Drought, which allows the user to kill the target in a merciful way so that the enemy will not suffer. This is used on enemies who are already defeated and helpless. The sixth form is Whirlpool, which involves the user sharply twisting their upper and lower body and creating a whirlpool that will cut through anything in its path. The seventh form is Drop Ripple Thrust, the fastest technique of the Breath of Water style. It amounts to a single but very quick and accurate stab. The eighth form is Waterfall Basin, a vertical cut. The ninth form is Splashing Water Flow Turbulent, which allows the user to adapt to shaky footing by minimizing his landing time and the size of the surface needed to land safely. The 10th form is Constant Flux, a continuous slashing attack that becomes more powerful with each new rotation. Finally, the 11th form is Gyu's own custom form called Dead Calm. This form allows the user to essentially go Ultra Instinct. Gyu calms his body perfectly and enters a completely peaceful state. He then blocks, deflects, and cuts all attacks with pure instinct without needing to even think about it. Next, let's talk about flame breathing, which, just like water breathing, has been represented in every Hashira generation since the time of Yoriichi. Like water breathing, flame breathing is derived directly from sun breathing, but unlike water breathing, it is a style that is inspired by the movements and power of flames. Flame breathing is more aggressive than water breathing, and a greater emphasis is placed on decisive, powerful attacks that overwhelm the opponent like scorching flames. It's less about flexibility and going with the flow, and more about burning your opponent with the flame that rages inside you. Known users of flame breathing include the former flame Hashira Shinjuro Rengoku and the current flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku. Well, current at the beginning of the story. The love Hashira Mitsuri Kanroji is also a user of flame breathing, but she eventually developed her own derivative style called love breathing, but we'll talk more about that later. Flame breathing has 9 different forms, but only 6 are known to us. These include first form Unknowing Fire, an attack that involves the user charging their opponent and swinging their blade with the intent to decapitate the enemy. Second form Rising Scorching Sun, which is an upward slash attack. Third form Blazing Universe, which is an arched vertical downward slash. Fourth form Blooming Flame Undulation, which involves the user spinning their sword rapidly in order to defend from enemy attacks. Fifth form Flame Tiger, which involves multiple sword slashes that form the shape of a tiger. And finally, ninth form Rengoku, a fiery slash from a distance that has the power to obliterate everything in sight. The ninth form is said to be unique to members of the Rengoku family. I would love to know more about the first flame-breathing user and other users throughout history, but unfortunately Shinjuro, the father of Kyojuro, destroyed the generational flame Hashira record of the Rengoku family. Nevertheless, we do know that the very first user of flame breathing who learned it from Yoriichi himself 5 centuries ago had a very similar hairstyle and hair color to Kyojuro. And this implies that flame breathing has always been passed on within the Rengoku family from the very beginning. It's even possible that every flame Hashira was a member of the Rengoku clan. Then we have wind breathing, which is also derived directly from sun breathing and which is inspired by the movements of the wind, including whirlwinds, wind gusts, and torrents. Wind breathing is a heavily offensive breathing style that seeks to overwhelm opponents with the fast, wild, and unrelenting force of a windstorm. There are only 2 known users of wind breathing, including the current wind Hashira Sanemi Shinazugawa and Masachika Kumeno, Sanemi's friend and the man who recruited him into the Demon Slayer Corps. Wind breathing has 9 known forms, including first form Dust Whirlwind Cutter, which involves the user rushing his opponent with great speed and unleashing a cyclone of sword slashes. Second form Claws Purifying Wind, an attack that unleashes 4 vertical slashes in the shape of a claw that cut into the enemy. Third form Clean Storm Wind Tree, which involves the user creating a whirlwind of slashes around themselves, allowing him to defend himself against enemy attacks and cut up everything in his immediate surroundings. Fourth form Rising Dust Storm, an upward swing of the sword from multiple directions. Fifth form, Cold Mountain Wind, a multi-pronged arched strike from above. Sixth form, Black Wind Mountain Mist, which involves the user rotating their body in order to create a powerful upward slashing tornado. Seventh form, Gale Sudden Gusts, which involves the user jumping into the air while swinging his sword, creating gale force winds that cut through the opponent. Eighth form, Primary Gale Slash, another attack where the user leaps into the air and swings the sword. This time, the user swings the sword in such a way as to create circular wind torrents that slice up the opponent. Finally, we have ninth form, Idaten Typhoon, which involves the user doing backflips through the air and unleashing powerful circular slashes while upside down. These slashes will shred everything that is located below the user. Now let's talk about stone breathing, yet another breathing style that is derived directly from sun breathing. This style is inspired by the earth and stone, and its techniques rely on the earth beneath the user's feet to make the user's stance and forms as firm and sturdy as possible. Stone breathing is good for both offense and defense, and it emphasizes the importance of physical strength, firm balance, perfect awareness of your surroundings, and a sturdy battle stance. Although we know that other stone breathing users existed in the past, the only user of stone breathing known to us is the stone Hashira Gyomei Himejima. Gyomei's fighting style is unique because he doesn't use a Nichirin katana in battle. Instead, he uses a Nichirin chained spike flail and axe. Stone breathing has 5 known forms, including first form Serpentine Bipolar, which involves the user throwing both his axe and flail at his opponent at the same time and then pulling on the chain in order to make both weapons rotate and drill through the enemy. Second form, Upper Smash, which involves the user throwing the axe and flail at his target in order to create a pincer attack. The user can then smash down on the chain and force it to rebound on the target. Third form, Stone Skin, which is a defensive technique involving a barrage of slashes designed to deflect enemy attacks. Fourth form, Volcanic Rock Rapid Conquest, a 2-pronged attack from a distance that involves spinning the axe and spiked flail on the chain in order to strike the opponent from a distance. Finally, there's fifth form, Arcs of Justice, for which the user unleashes a massive barrage of strikes with the flail and axe. This is also a 2-pronged attack that is designed to inflict a huge amount of damage. Next up, let's talk about thunder breathing, the 5th breathing style that is derived directly from sun breathing. Thunder breathing is of course inspired by thunder and lightning, and it focuses on extremely quick movements and attacks that are reminiscent of lightning strikes. Incredible speed is the thing that really sets thunder breathing apart from the other styles. So much so that Tanjiro actually incorporates aspects of Zenitsu's thunder breathing into his own sun breathing. There are 3 known users of thunder breathing, including Zenitsu, Zenitsu's master Jigoro Kuwaijima, who is a former Thunder Hashira, and finally Kaigaku, who is Jigoro's other disciple along with Zenitsu. As we know, there is no Thunder Hashira in the current Hashira generation, but there certainly were multiple Thunder Hashira in the past. Thunder breathing has 7 known forms, including first form Thunderclap and Flash, which allows the user to move and slash the opponent with incredible thunderous speed. Because this is the only form that Zenitsu is capable of using at first, he does his best to master it and maximize its effectiveness. As a result, Zenitsu learns how to perform this technique 6 and even 8 times in rapid succession. And Zenitsu is also able to augment the speed of this form as he strives to bring out its full potential, leading to his ultimate attack, Thunderclap and Flash, Godspeed. The second form is called Rice Spirit, and it involves the user unleashing 5 separate lightning slashes performed in a single moment. The third form is Buzzing Thunder Swarm, a spinning wave of lightning that explodes in all directions. The fourth form is Distant Thunder, which allows the user to create a thunderous strike from a distance. The fifth form is Heat Lightning, a slashing attack infused with lightning that can burn the flesh. The sixth form is Rumble and Flash, which is a series of long-range strikes capable of cracking the enemy's body. The seventh and final form is called Flaming Thunder God, and this form is actually developed by Zenitsu himself later on in the story. It allows the user to rush forward at blinding speed and launch a devastating forward slash at his opponent. When this attack is used, it appears as if a lightning dragon is emerging from the sword. And now we come to our first demonic mutation of a breathing style. You see, Zenitsu's master's other disciple, Kaigaku, was a user of thunder breathing who willingly decided to become a demon. He eventually attained the rank of Upper Moon 6. Now here's the interesting thing about Kaigaku. Once he becomes a demon, he still uses thunder breathing, but he also develops a blood demon art which allows him to actually create and manipulate real lightning as he fights. When a human uses a breathing style, their movements are merely inspired by whichever element their style is based on. So a flame breathing user isn't actually producing flames. The flames we see are just an artistic representation of what the moves are inspired by. But a breathing style user who also has real supernatural demonic powers can essentially create a new and improved breathing style that incorporates both swordsmanship techniques and actual supernatural powers. So when Kaigaku becomes a demon, he is able to combine his thunder breathing with actual black lightning, which he can use to attack his opponents and burn their bodies during the fight. All of his thunder breathing forms become more deadly and more powerful, and his range and speed are also greatly increased due to his demonic powers. The change that a breathing style undergoes when it is combined with a blood demon art is massive, and I think it deserves a special classification. Demon Kaigaku's thunder breathing isn't just regular thunder breathing, it is demonic thunder breathing, and it is an entirely different beast. In fact, most of the thunder breathing forms that we know, forms 2 through 6, have only ever been shown as being performed by Demon Kaigaku. That's because Zenitsu only ever learned the first form, and then later on in the story he created the 7th. This means that forms 2 through 6 have only been performed in combination with Kaigaku's blood demon art. And if they had been performed by a normal human, they actually would have looked different. And since we're on the topic of breathing styles that are eventually transformed into demonic breathing styles, we have to talk about moon breathing and its sole user, Upper Moon 1, Kokushibo. Now officially, the Demon Slayer core believes that there are only 5 different breathing styles that were derived directly from sun breathing, and those 5 are the ones we've talked about already. But the truth is that there is a 6th, and that is moon breathing. As far as we know, moon breathing has only ever been used by one man, Kokushibo. This might be why most people don't even realize that the style exists. The only man who ever used it became a demon like 450 years ago. So the knowledge of its existence was probably lost to time. As a human, Kokushibo was actually the twin brother of Yorichi. He was Michikatsu Tsugikuni, and he learned his breathing style directly from his brother. Moon breathing is inspired by the shape of the crescent moon, with a focus on fast and powerful crescent-shaped attacks that combine both offensive and defensive elements. During his human life, Kokushibo was a demon slayer, and he was arguably the second strongest demon slayer after his brother Yorichi. But Kokushibo became jealous of his brother when he realized that no matter how hard he trained, he would never be able to surpass him. So he accepted Muzan's proposal to become a demon so that he could use demon powers to finally surpass his brother. Moon breathing has at least 16 forms, but we've only seen 11 of them in action. It's important to note that all the forms we see Kokushibo perform are done in conjunction with his blood demon art, which allows him to actually create crescent moon shaped blades that are constantly changing in length and size, making it incredibly difficult to predict the range of his attacks. These crescent blades are separate from his sword and are like deadly flying boomerangs that attack Kokushibo's opponents as he fights them. In other words, we've never actually seen regular moon breathing in action, only demonic moon breathing. The forms of moon breathing include first form Dark Moon Evening Palace, which involves the user quickly drawing his sword, performing a swift single slash movement that creates several crescent-shaped blades, and then sheathing his sword again. The second form is called Pearl Flower Moon Gazing, and it involves the user performing 3 rapid slashes that release a bunch of crescent blades at the opponent. Then we have third form Loathsome Moon Chains, which involves 2 wide crescent-shaped slashes which create a barrage of crescent blades. Fifth form Moon Spirit Calamitous Eddy, which involves the user layering multiple curved slashes one over the other, creating a vortex of crescent moon blades. Sixth form Perpetual Night Lonely Moon Incessant, which again involves the user swiftly performing a bunch of curved slashes, and this releases an entire salvo of crescent blades. 7th form, Mirror of Misfortune Moonlit, which involves the user launching a forward crescent-shaped slash that unleashes additional slashes which expand outward and advance on the opponent. 8th form, Moon Dragon Ringtail, which involves Kokushibo using his special demonic katana to perform a huge carved slash from a distance, which again generates a whole bunch of crescent blades. 9th form, Waning Moon Swaths, which involves Kokushibo using his special demon katana to unleash multiple curved slashes that leave a whole bunch of crescent blades along the path that the sword follows. 10th form, Drilling Slashes Moon Through Bamboo Leaves, involves Kokushibo using his demon sword to create 3 circular slashes that look like saws, and that also generate a bunch of crescent blades along their path. 14th form, Catastrophe Tenman Crescent Moon, involves the user performing curved slashes one after the other. These slashes then expand in all directions and become larger, generating a vortex of crescent blades all around the user. Finally, the last known form is 16th form, Moonbow Half Moon, which involves the user swinging his demonic sword upwards and then launching 6 curved slashes down at the ground, leaving craters in the places they connected with the ground. Forms 4, 11, 12, 13, and 15 also exist, but they are not revealed in the story. 16 is the most forms out of any breathing style that we've seen, but it makes sense that Kokushibo's breathing style would have so many different forms because he had literally 450 years to create and perfect them all. And now that we've covered all the breathing styles that were directly derived from sun breathing, let's talk about the derivatives of the derivatives. Styles that were derived out of the 6 styles that came from sun breathing. Some of these derivatives of derivatives were created in order to accommodate the special physical structure and ability of their users, as was the case with Mitsuri and love breathing, while others were created to accommodate for certain physical limitations of the user, as was the case with Shinobu and insect breathing. But let's start things off with the derivatives of water breathing, because there are actually 3 of them. Well, 2 direct derivatives, flower and serpent breathing, and then a 3rd generation derivative, insect breathing, which is actually derived from flower breathing. Serpent breathing is used by the serpent Hashira Obanai Iguro, and he is the only known user of this style. This style is inspired by the slithering movements of a snake, and Iguro actually has a unique custom sword with a blade that twists like a slithering snake. This allows for unpredictable attacks that wind from side to side before ultimately connecting with the target when the target least expects it. This focus on winding movements is reminiscent of water breathing, which focuses on the flow of water, but serpent breathing has its own unique forms. These include first form, Winding Serpent Slash, which involves the user moving in a snake-like way while unleashing a bunch of winding slashes. Second form, Venom Fangs of the Narrow Head, which involve the user getting behind the enemy using incredible speed and relieving them of their head. Third form, Coil Choke, which involves the user circling his targets while slicing at them from all directions. Fourth form, Twin-Headed Reptile, which involves the user jumping in the air and releasing a horizontal slash that cuts through the enemy. And then finally, 5th form, Slithering Serpent, which involves the user making wild curving movements with their specially designed sword, allowing the user to relieve multiple demons of their heads in a single attack. Next, let's talk about the other known derivative of water breathing, which is flower breathing. This style is used by Kanae Kocho, the older sister of Shinobu Kocho and the former flower Hashira, as well as by Kanao Tsuyuri. This style is inspired by flowers and other types of plants, and it focuses on graceful, technically sophisticated attacks and on the user's own agility. Users of this breathing style are also able to boost their sense of sight, but if they overdo this ability, they can lose their sight altogether. There are 5 known forms of flower breathing, including second form, Honorable Shadow Plum, a series of rotating sword slashes used defensively to deflect attacks. Fourth form, Crimson Hanagoromo, a single slash of the sword that twists and curves in a graceful manner. Fifth form, Peonies of Futility, a combo move that features 9 flowing consecutive attacks. Sixth form, Whirling Peach, an evasion technique that allows the user to quickly shift their weight and spin towards the enemy, thereby shifting defense to attack. And final form, Equinoctial Vermilion Eye, a focusing technique that raises the user's kinetic vision to its maximum power, essentially allowing the user to see everything in slow motion. While this can be extremely useful in battle, it is also a dangerous technique because it puts a lot of strain on the user's eyes, and it can lead to partial or complete blindness. Then there's insect breathing, which is a derivative of flower breathing, which is of course a derivative of water breathing, which is itself a derivative of sun breathing. You still with me? Okay, good. Insect breathing was invented by the insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho in order to accommodate her own petite body and lack of upper body strength. Basically, Shinobu does not have the physical strength to behead a demon, so she has to use a special swordsmanship style that focuses on stabbing, thrusting, and inflicting shallow cuts with a blade that is coated with wisteria poison, and this poison can incapacitate demons. The technique is inspired by poisonous insects who can inflict deadly poisonous stings on much larger and stronger opponents. Shinobu also uses a custom sword that is smaller and lighter than a normal katana, and the small weight of her sword allows for extra speed and maneuverability. Insect breathing has 4 known forms, including Butterfly Dance Caprice, a jumping attack that slashes the opponent several times in order to inject the opponent with poison. Dance of the Bee Sting True Flutter, an incredibly fast dash at the opponent followed by a single thrusting attack that injects the opponent with poison. Dance of the Dragonfly Compound Eye Hexagon, a combo attack that strikes the target 6 times in 6 different areas that are considered to be weak spots within the body, injecting poison in each area in order to increase the chances of the enemy being overwhelmed by poison. Finally, we have Dance of the Centipede 100-Legged Zigzag, which involves the user running at full speed in a zigzag pattern, confusing the opponent and creating an opening for a powerful poisonous thrust. Now that we've covered all the derivatives of water breathing, let's talk about the only known derivative of flame breathing, Mitsuri's love breathing. Mitsuri actually learned flame breathing first, and she learned it directly from the former flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku. Eventually, she altered the style so that it would better suit her unique physical structure, including the fact that she has superhuman flexibility and a muscle density that is 8 times higher than normal. Her breathing style is inspired by the emotion of love, and it focuses on flexibility, agility, and dexterity. Mitsuri also uses a special custom sword that functions more like a sharp whip than a conventional katana. Because of her unique sword and unconventional acrobatic abilities, she is a very unpredictable opponent. Love breathing has 5 known forms, including first form Shivers of First Love, an attack that involves a rapid dash followed by multiple long-range whip-like slashes. Second form Love Pangs, which unleashes multiple whip-like slashes all around the user's body. Third form Cat Love Shower, which involves the user leaping into the air and then releasing a rapid succession of ranged attacks. Fifth form Swaying Love Wild Claw, which is a backward somersault through the air that creates a long string of whipping attacks. And sixth form Cat-Legged Wings of Love, which involves the user twirling upside down and creating helix-shaped slashes that can deflect enemy attacks. Next, let's talk about sound breathing, which is a derivative of thunder breathing. It is used by the sound Hashira Tengen Uzui, and it is of course inspired by the properties of sound. This breathing style focuses on speed and loud explosive attacks, and it often relies on Tengen's superhuman sense of hearing. Similar to echolocation, Tengen is capable of deconstructing an opponent's movements into bass sounds, analyzing the sounds, and identifying openings and weaknesses based on those sounds, which he then exploits. Tengen uses several unconventional weapons, including dual Nichiren cleavers that are held together by a metal chain, kinda like nunchucks. He also uses explosive beads that allow him to detonate actual explosions in battle, and he uses kunai. Sound breathing was designed to work with this specific weaponry, and so Tengen is the only one who can use sound breathing techniques. There are 3 known forms of sound breathing, including first form Roar, which involves the user raising his cleavers above his head and slamming them into the ground, thereby creating explosions that sound like thunder. Fourth form Constant Resounding Slashes, an attack that is both offensive and defensive in nature and involves the user spinning his swords while simultaneously releasing bombs at his targets. And fifth form String Performance, which involves the user charging at his opponent while spinning his swords on a chain while releasing both a series of continuous slashes and bombs at the same time. The final 2 breathing styles are both derivatives of wind breathing. The first is mist breathing, which is used by the mist Hashira Muichiro Tokito. It is inspired by the properties of mist, and it focuses on quick, sudden attacks that are stealthy and unpredictable, as if they were emerging from a thick mist. Muichiro actually wears exceptionally baggy clothing so that his movements are harder to read and predict. Mist breathing has 7 known forms, including first form Low Clouds Distant Haze, which is a thrusting attack. Second form, 8-layered mist, which involves a barrage of 8 slashes, one on top of the other. Third form, scattering mist splash, a circular slash with the power to blow away enemy projectiles. Fourth form, shifting flow slash, which includes a rapid slash right as the sword is pulled from its scabbard. Fifth form, sea of clouds and haze, which involves the user running at the enemy at high speed and following through with a barrage of slashes. Sixth form, lunar dispersing mist, which involves the user leaping into the air and raining down a large number of slashes on his enemies. And finally, seventh form, obscuring clouds, which is a technique that allows its user to confuse his enemies by shifting the tempo of his movements in a way that tricks the opponent's eyes. This form was created by Muichiro himself. The final breathing style that we need to talk about is beast breathing, which is also a derivative of wind breathing. This style is used by the wild man himself, Inosuke Hashibira, and he is the only known user. Inosuke actually grew up in the wilderness and was raised by wild boars, so his breathing style is inspired by wild beasts and animals. It focuses on wild and ferocious animalistic attacks. Inosuke uses dual Nichiren swords with chips along the blade that look like the sharp teeth of a beast. And Inosuke also has a superhuman sense of touch, which he uses to enhance his breathing techniques. Beast breathing has 11 known forms, including First Fang Pierce, which allows the user to stab a target's neck simultaneously with both of his blades. Second Fang Slice, which allows the user to slash at a target with both blades in an X formation. Third Fang Devour, which involves the user unleashing 2 simultaneous horizontal slashes aimed at an opponent's throat. Fourth Fang Slice and Dice, which is a flurry of diagonal slices. Fifth Fang Crazy Cutting, which is a slicing attack that lashes out in all directions around the user as he jumps through the air. Sixth Fang Palisade Bite, in which the user uses 2 swords to launch 2 slashes at his opponent from both directions, essentially sawing at them in an attempt to relieve them of their head. Seventh Fang Spatial Awareness, which gives the user the ability to sense subtle changes in the air across a wide area, and this allows the user to identify the locations of his potential enemies in that area. Then there's Eighth Fang Explosive Rush, which is basically Inosuke just rushing his enemies and swinging both swords with amazing speed. Ninth Fang Extending Bendy Slash, which allows the user to dislocate the joints on his arms in order to extend the reach of his attack. 10th Fang Whirling Fangs, which is a spinning attack that cuts everything in sight, including enemy projectiles. And 11th Fang Sudden Throwing Strike, which is basically Inosuke chucking both swords at an enemy. And that is it. All 16 breathing styles in Demon Slayer explained, including the original style, the 6 main derivatives, the 2 demonic breathing styles, the 6 derivatives of derivatives, and of course, insect breathing, which is a derivative of a derivative of a derivative. If you're looking for another epic Demon Slayer video to watch next, don't ignore our breakdown of every single Demon Moon and their powers, link in the description and on screen right now. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Demon Slayer content here on the channel, leave a quick like right now. And if you're one of the over 50% of people who watch our videos but haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a massive favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications.